It's Jack from B&T MacFarlane, and today we're going to be going over the brand new Kubota KX040-5. So let's get into it. I'm really excited to be talking about the new KX040-5 from Kubota. It's not the first -5 excavator to come out, but it is probably the most important as it's one of the best-selling excavators that Kubota makes. It's their 4-ton series, so it's extremely versatile. From homeowners to landscapers to construction job sites, pretty much anybody can find a use for a 4-ton excavator somewhere in their fleet. It has all the new -5 features too, so we'll get into that. It has the new redesigned cab, LCD touchscreen, the LED lights, and of course it does have the new Kubota paint job. So if you weren't a fan of the completely orange paint, you do have some black paint now on the back of the excavator. So if you spent any time at all researching Kubota excavators, you'll notice that there's two different series that they have. They have a U series and a KX series. You might be wondering yourself, what's the difference between the U series and the KX series? We get this question a lot. The U series has no tail swing or tight tail swing, and the KX series will have tail swing. It'll be more of a conventional tail swing excavator. And I really think that's where Kubota's excavators shine, and that's where the advantage is. So we sell a lot more KX series excavators versus U series excavators, except for the U17, but that's just a different excavator altogether. But in these bigger excavators, the KX series is way more versatile, and it gives you a lot more power on the same track size. So when you swing this machine around, it's gonna hang over the side. The counterweight is gonna hang over the side of the tracks. So that is one thing you're gonna have to keep in mind of, is when you're in a tight space, that your rear end will be hanging over the side of the tracks. Where on a U series, it's gonna be flush with the tracks or very, very, very slightly hanging over the side of the tracks. And the advantage for the KX series is that you're gonna get the same width platform. So the actual track width and the blade width is gonna be identical, except you're gonna get more lift capacity and more power because you have more weight back here. So I tell customers all the time, as long as you can get the excavator into somebody's backyard or into a tight space, whether that's through a gate or through a couple trees or whatever it might be, you're going to be far better off with a KX series because you have that extra power due to the counterweight. But there is also applications where this counterweight is not as handy, and that is something you're gonna have to keep in mind. So they do make an equivalent U series in this as well. It'd be the U48, or if you go down in size, it would be the U35. So that is better for people who are working in tighter areas. Think like suburban townhomes that are tight together. You have to get in a backyard. It's really tight. When you swing, you're gonna hit either house or somebody's car, or if you're working in the bush and it's really, really tight with trees, then that would be a good opportunity for you to get a U series excavator. So taking a look at the front of the KX040-5, it has remained roughly the same, which is not a bad thing, but they have increased the flow of this excavator. So when you're doing multiple functions at once, you're gonna have a way easier time doing it. Kubota says it's about 20% more efficiency with the KX040-5. So interpret that as you will, but I've used this excavator and I've used the -4 quite a bit, and this one is a lot smoother. It does work a lot quicker. So you're not really gonna notice it if you're just sitting straight, digging and just digging normally. The 040-4 was still amazing at that, but it's when you're trying to run multi-functions with this machine, like say you're curling, doing the thumb, twisting the machine, swinging the boom, you're running multiple functions at once. There's none of that bogging down anymore. The machine just keeps going while you're doing those functions. And in terms of the specs are roughly the same. So you're gonna have an 18-foot reach out the front of the excavator. So that's as far as you can reach out with the boom itself. And then you're also gonna have a dig depth of just over 11 feet. So it is pretty handy in all those applications, whether you're doing landscaping or construction. This machine is extremely versatile. Breakout forces are all the same as well with this machine. Looking at the front as well, you're gonna have some bucket options. The standard ones we usually send out with this machine are a 24-inch tooth bucket and then a 42-inch flat ditching bucket, which is what you see here. And then you also have a hydraulic thumb that typically comes standard on these machines, but there are other bucket and configuration options. Here at B&T MacFarlane, we do sell rototilt. So we do sell quite a few of these with a rototilt head. That would be a tilter-rotator that goes 360 degrees. Extremely versatile attachments. They basically replaced an entire landscape crew for one machine. And then the quick attach coupler as well. There is a hydraulic quick attach coupler option available that can be controlled from inside of the cab. One thing to note too, if you've ever ran a Kubota excavator, you'll know that they have a wedge style front coupler. So that's a huge advantage because Kubota puts that coupler right in line with where the pins on the bucket are. So the numbers that you get on the breakout force in the brochure are going to be exact to the real world scenarios that you would see. So what you see in the brochure is what you're going to get in real life, where if you have a more traditional pin grabber setup, the coupler is actually going to sit above where the pin grabber actually grabs the bucket. So you're going to lose a bit of breakout force because the bucket is mounted lower than the pins on the boom of the bucket. So now we're looking at the blade on the front of the KX040-5. The configurations are identical and the width is identical to the Dash 4. So it's about 5 feet 7 inches wide on the standard blade option. There's also 3 blade choices. It's the most options out of any excavator that Kubota has for the blade. You're going to have the straight blade here, which is a pretty common configuration that we see. And then you're also going to have an angle blade as well. So that's just going to move left and right. And then you're also going to have a 6-in-1 blade. So that's going to move up, down, left, right. And then it's also going to tilt up and down as well. One thing to note about that blade is it is actually about 4 inches wider than this blade because that just accounts for the tilt function and the angle function as well. So when you angle the blade, it's not going to be within the width of the tracks. So when you're angling, you're not going to be pushing material on top of your tracks to flatten it out. So I'm inside of the cab of the new 040-5, and this is where the majority of the changes are going to be. They've kept a lot of the stuff the same. The main one being this roll-up door, which is an awesome feature on these excavators because sometimes you need to be talking to the people that are at the end of the bucket. Obviously, sometimes when it's nice outside, you want to have the door open and let that fresh air in. So they did keep that feature, which is extremely nice. But a lot of the changes on the Dash 5 are going to be inside the cab. So this machine, it doesn't have the dual auxiliary setup at the end, but you can get it with a dual auxiliary setup, which we sell a lot of. And that's going to be where you're going to notice a huge difference. So all the buttons and the screen are different, but it allows you to control the flow right from the screen much easier than the Dash 4 model. The Dash 4 model, you had to go through a couple menus to dial in the flow. On this one, I'll show you in a video on a close-up, but basically you can just turn the dial up or down. It'll adjust your thumb whether you want to open softer or harder. So on a thumb, if you're grabbing a bunch of rocks, ideally you don't want it to be slamming open, slamming shut. You want it to be nice and controlled so that when you're grabbing those rocks, you're not breaking them. And then there's a lot of features and functions inside the screen like maintenance intervals. There's also Kubota telematics that comes standard with this machine. So you're able to go on your phone, geofence it, track where it is, track the hours, track the service intervals. And then there's also more legroom as well. So they pushed the cab back a couple of inches. So you have more legroom. So if you're a bigger operator, you will notice it immediately over the Dash 4 version. And then the way you turn on the aux as well is much nicer. Instead of having to go on the screen and press, you get in, push your red lever down, press the button, and then your thumb is going to be live. They also added a whole bunch of new buttons over here, which are really easy to press. They're very tactile. You can press them with gloves on if you're using this in the winter. So you have like your LED work lights, you have your LED work lights up top as well. And then there's also an option for a backup camera. It's not standard with Kubota, although we do send a lot of them out with it because it is a nice feature to have. You can just press the button and then it goes right into your screen here. You're able to look to see what's going on behind you. I would almost say that that's a must for anybody working on a job site. One big thing too in regards of anti-theft is that they added keyless entry on this excavator. So instead of having that chipped key style that they've had for forever, there's keyless entry now, which is again a must. Once you have it, there's really no going back. It's done wonders in terms of theft on these machines. So you just turn it on, does that beeping noise. This cab loves to beep at you. And then you just type in your password. And then there you go. And then of course this cab, it does have heat, air conditioning, and it comes with a radio as well, built right into this LCD screen. So now we're taking a look at the back of the new 040-5. You'll notice the paint job here. Some people love it, some people still prefer the orange. I actually really like what they've done with these new Dash 5 series. I think it looks really modern, really sleek, and it looks great on every single excavator they've done it on so far. So now we're gonna pop the hood and take a look at the engine compartment. Everything is super easily accessible. It's powered by a 40 horsepower Kubota engine. All your filters, your dipsticks, your checks, your test points, they're all really easily accessible in this engine bay. Since it is above 26 horsepower, you do have a DPF, which sits right there. So this engine will go through a regeneration cycle once every 40 or 50 hours. Really, as long as you're running the engine in high enough RPMs, it's really nothing to worry about. It will naturally burn off. And then the one thing to keep in mind is that if it does want to go through a regeneration cycle, just make sure you don't hit the inhibit button inside of the cab. Just let it do its thing, let it run through the cycle. You don't even have to stop using the excavator. And then once it's done, again, it'll just rev down and then you're able to use it normally. And then on the hydraulic side as well, extremely easily accessible over there. You'll have your air filter, your fuel filter, and then you'll also have your hydraulic filters over there as well. Again, super easily accessible. In terms of your general services that you have to do on it, there's really nothing you have to take off or take apart to get at it. One thing that they did do on the 040-5 was give it more operator space inside, like I mentioned. But as a result of that, since the cab's been pushed back, this back panel's been pushed back as well. So this panel sits flush with the counterweight. So if you can imagine on a non-zero tail swing machine, a conventional tail swing machine, when you're swinging that around, now you have your expensive panel that's kind of prone to denting and scratching, sits flush with your counterweight. So that is something to keep in mind, that you probably will end up with a little bit more scrapes and dings on this panel versus the old iteration that had less operators room inside, but then it was pushed forward, so the counterweight took the brunt of the impacts. But I think it is a pretty worthy trade-off to get more comfort inside of the cab. So there are a couple track configurations you can get on the 040-5. The most common one that we sell here would be the rubber tracks in this pattern. That is the only pattern you can get from factory. And then you can also get steel tracks from factory as well on the 040-5. So that is a nice option if you're working in more off-road, rocky, rugged terrain. Steel tracks might be an option for you, or if you're working on a job site that demands steel tracks because you're going over rocks, you're working in a quarry, again, steel tracks. But for most people that we sell these to, landscapers around the Ottawa area working on their own bush property, rubber tracks seem to be what most people are going with on these machines. I'd like to thank everybody for watching. If you're enjoying the videos, remember to like and subscribe. And if you have any questions about the new KX040 from Kubota, make sure you leave them down below in the comments. And if you need help with parts, sales, or service, give us a call at 613-225-0555. Thank you.